Okay, well, once more I visit Pakistan from a long distance. This is Michael Fullan, a professor of sociology in Toronto. We do a lot of system work, applied system work, and that's why I'm talking to you once again. So I want to give you a short update of what we've been doing. And here is kind of the frame of it. I've got a number of slides you can see. We'll send them to you. But what we've been doing in the last really quite a few years is participating in system change, which means how do you change the whole system? It's bigger than a school, it's bigger than a region or a district. It doesn't have to be the whole country because some of that is very large, but it has to be sizable, let's put it that way. And what we've done is you'll see that on the title slide, I've titled it The Convergence of Learning and System Change. So learning is meant in two ways. One is the learning that individual students do and their teachers, and the other is, does the system learn? Does the system get better? And so that's how we're doing it. This is all applied work. This means that we team up with actual systems in California, for example, in Canada, in Australia, and we work together with a system that tries to put in place what is the priority, and we help people put those in place for the whole country or the whole section of the country, but we learn lessons from it, specific. So increasingly, we're getting more specific about system change. So I call it the convergence of learning and system change. I did this book, I have a textbook on this, The New Meaning of Educational Change. I started it in 1982. It now has the sixth edition, but every 8 years or so, I do an updated edition. So the very last one came out just a few months ago. It's number 6, and in it I have updated where we are, and I've drawn this conclusion. These are the if I say what's new about this, it's really the finding that system change has not worked hardly anywhere in the world for very long, system change in education. That means it's complex. By saying not working, it means that it's never been successful in a lasting way. And I guess I'll say in some odd way, that's good news because it means it's hard to do. It's not your fault if you're not making it work. But we want to make it work, so we say if it hasn't been working at the big scale, what's the big lesson? The big lesson, first of all, is negative. Top-down change does not work. So that's lesson number one. And then when you get from top-down change, then you have to say, well, what's the alternative? And on the screen where I have what's new, this is our current work in the last really 5 years, but in an applied way, very, very increasingly specific. Last year, this year, now big plans for the next year and two that I'll share with you as we go. So think of the system as having, you can divide it many different layers, but local, middle, and bottom up. So local is this is really the local school and the community. It could be a set of schools if it's in a given district, but that's the very local. The middle is the regional office, the regional way in which the system might be organized by state, by subgroup, and then the top is the policymakers and that. So what we've been doing is helping to get some successful examples, knowing that most examples have not worked. I want to also introduce a powerful concept that's very complex in some ways, but has practical value. We call it transcendental thinking, and we want to say how do we kind of make this work? And then with the recent evolution of AI, we have been using AI, but now using it as a partner to make system change stronger, not just implementing AI. I'll also talk about that. I use the word bewilderment because this is early in this work and we're still trying to get it organized and clear, but we're making progress. So if I put the first finding from the new meaning of change, I won't read all these words, but there's definitely everywhere in the world a loss of purpose about what actually is the role of education and learning. And it seems odd to say that. It should be, well, it should be learning, but it got many systems got involved in literacy and numeracy and basic things, and they're certainly what we want to make sure happens, but it's not really the goal. It's not really the purpose. It's the means, maybe. The purpose is to develop students who are good in society and good for society. So you'll see our measures in our work that we do, for example, in Ottawa Catholic District with 47 schools and 45,000 students, or in uh, Anaheim in California, 20 schools, 26,000 students. These are whole systems that be successful. So what I'm going to do is identify what's been successful and refer to those two examples in the course of doing this. So here's a bit graphic way of putting it. I want to turn the system on its head. Instead of thinking of top, down, bottom, I want to reverse that and say build the bottom, which is the school and the community, multiple schools, regional, strengthen the middle, and intrigue the top. It's an odd phrase, but it's meant to be a little bit playful. It says the top won't really listen and learn very much, so build your strength at the bottom and middle, and then see what the relationship could be with the top. So thinking about it again, I use the word systemic is the one that is used historically. So Peter Senge, system change, has made that famous. And systemic change is important, but people have been studying systemic change, and we're saying, well, okay, we can study it, but how do you make it work? And that's where I will go to the term systemness. It's a real English word, and what it means is that you are the people that are doing the work start to think in terms of, I am working in a system. This is the local system. How do we make the local system better? By working together, by building the role of the school leader, by the teacher becoming more effective, by students being co-developers of some of the learning. So I call it the subjective sense because we want to center it on how people are thinking about this. Stepping back from the whole thing, simple but powerful, build the base, mobilize the middle, intrigue the top. And then I want to reinforce we're trying to get people, students included, and local people, the community, and as well as the teachers, thinking about, well, we are a system. It's not just our school, but we're perhaps part of a regional set of number of schools. We're part of the sub-state. So thinking of that level so you can understand it and then change it for the better. I wanted to move directly into the school because I said we're going from the school to the system. That's where we are. We're very grounded. And so lately in California, for example, we've been focusing because they wanted this in the policy on high schools. So secondary schools that are there's quite a large of them. California has huge numbers of schools in a large system, so we have working in one of these districts. The district is called Anaheim Union. It's just the terminology they use, Anaheim Union High School District. It's in Anaheim, right beside Disneyland in California. And the AHUSD, as I'll call the district, they have been involved in major transformation. They have 26,000 students, 20 schools, and they have a history, a lot of minority students and diverse ethnic students, poverty, and they have been when they started 10 years ago into this new work, they were very much stuck, and they wanted to jump into the future. And then we started about 5 years ago working with them after they have had some initial success. We're trying to make this more substantial, more systematic. So what they have here, and I'll use their terminology, they have, as you see in this slide, three drivers. One is 21st century skills. These are the global competencies, so character, citizenship, collaboration, critical thinking. There's 6 of them, so they've actually collapsed 2, so they have 5 actually. So they have the skills, and then in order to get those skills developed in reality, they have what they call the technical skills, which are really the learning skills: literacy, numeracy, problem solving, and so forth. And then they have the very powerful motivator that they call youth voice and purpose. Obviously, what that is that students with teachers and principals and others become co-determiners of the development of this. And I'm going to give you a flavor of what that looks like. So they are, if we look at this part here, these 7 points, I'm not going to read them because you'll have these to look at anyways by when you receive the the presentation from us with the accompanying materials. So I won't read this, but I'm assuming you're looking at them now, and you'll see what I've been talking about. These 6 things, these are their values. This means that this guides the strategy. And think of this. I really want you to stop and think about this. This is very important because it's the basis of their success. And remember, they're a high poverty, high diverse school system in the heart of California, and lots of problems, but they've mobilized in success. We've written about them, and you can see in our books, the book we did with Joanne Quinn called The Drivers. There's a case study of this in that, for example. The new work that we're doing, we just finished actually another book just on Anaheim that will come out in January 2026. The authors are Barry, Matsuda, and Fullan. So Barry, Berry, Matsuda, and Fullan. Look for that from Corwin in January 2026. So this is their mission statement. I won't read these out. I want you to soak it in, so to speak. They want students who are good in society and good for society. They have these. I've showed this before. What those skills were, the 3 domains that they organize their work and their learning, and then this transcendent thinking it's a bit of I guess it's certainly a new concept. It's fantastic aspiration, but I'm going to say it's practical in the sense that this gets people thinking this way. And I'll just give you a simple definition in a moment. And then it enables them, students and teachers together, to work on it. So what transcendent thinking does is developed by Mary Helen Imordino Yang, who's at the Rossier University, part of the university system in California, that she has developed this as a cognitive scientist. And transcendent thinking is essentially this. Your one thinking is the here and now, let's call it. Here and now is, I'm a student, I'm in this school, I have got a life, I've got a bad life, whatever. But my normal thinking is like, what's the teacher says is important, why is this important, etc. So that's kind of the base. But what they've done in this neuroscience development is they've introduced to students, okay, you might have a purpose now when you came into the school, but that's your first purpose. What do you want out of life? What could you learn in this school that would make you more effective in life? Remember, our motto is to become more effective in life, in society, and for society. And the whole curriculum then begins to mobilize students on where they think they might be going in life, what they need to learn, etc. And they eventually get to the point of having learned something, and they're able to, and this is the frame I want you to think about. Remember, transcendent is first you have the here and now thinking. I came to the school, I didn't know what I wanted. I've got a good spot or not a good spot in life. And now, as a result of learning purposefully, I have 2 years later a very strong sense of where I might be going, and that is about the then and thereafter. So that's the language I want to use. I started with the here and now, and as a result of this deeper learning, I now have a sense of the then and thereafter. Where am I heading, and how can I build on this? So this is what you're seeing and what you will see in these next slides. Transcendent thinking, you'll have this to look at yourself. You'll have the copy from us. This is the assistant superintendent, the person second in command of the district, and that think when you have a chance to look at this yourselves, discuss this and see what you're able to derive from it. So this is Anaheim. At the same time, we're working in other districts, and I want to jump into AI because it's such a powerful presence and mostly a disruptive presence for schools everywhere. No matter how good they are, they still are suffering from the saturation of AI. So one of the schools we work with has been a leader in this respect is Ottawa Catholic District. It's a district in Ontario, Canada, has 47,000 students and a number of schools that are a large number of schools in an urban setting, and diverse students. And as you go to this, they have focused on the deep learning we saw in Anaheim, and they have developed their students who are good in those C's. They're very strong in them. But lately, in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, when they saw AI coming, and everyone is confused about should we ignore it, should we try to do it, they said we're going to use AI to help us develop the 6 C's further. We're going to use AI not just to learn AI, but to be an instrument to get better on what we're already doing. So I'm going to tell you and show you how they did this, and I'm going to emphasize the strategy in play. But the actual essence of this is they have a strong learning focus. AI, they said, we want AI to be a partner in learning, not to be something that we have to figure out how to follow AI, but how to use AI to be the partner in learning. So this is they've only done this for 3 years, maybe even less than 3 years, because they started 2 years ago, and they're continuing. And you see the way that I'm expressing this, and they're expressing this as a change proposition. So they said, AI, what do we do with it? The first year we were learning, we were learners about what is AI anyways. And so they acknowledged that we don't know what it is. We're starting in to learn it. And then they then began to implement it and use it as part of their learning the second year. And I want to stop and emphasize these two phrases, literacy and certification. Think about this now, because it's the leaders of the school system. They say, first of all, we want our students and teachers to be literate about what is AI anyways. So we don't expect them to know very much. So they're learners, and we do that. And then when we get that learning going, we want them to consolidate that. So we provide professional development that leads to certification in AI. In other words, you do a bunch of learning. These are students and teachers and principals. And then once you have learned enough of it, you then become, we as a district certify you to say you're good enough to help develop and lead this. So the learning and literacy and certification go together. You see that they have high aspirations for their learning and their AI. The AI is about helping them to transform what can be learned in this development. So they have, within the 6 C's, it's important to note that they've emphasized certain ones. They didn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They said, well, one of the C's that's most important, they think, is critical thinking. Critical thinking in today's society is not very well developed. There's all kinds of untruths out there and things that don't make sense, or they do, and they're the wrong things. So we have to teach people how to critically think about what it is they're learning, and is it valuable? Is it true? And teachers and students spend a long time doing that. And then the second C that they have emphasized is creativity. So this is a very important point, because we've got, in their case, 6 C's, and they said these two, critical thinking and creativity, seem to be very important as fundamental. Then we'll build the others: character, citizenship, collaboration, communication. So they add those other 4, but look at the sequence there and what they'll be able to do. The end result of this and their story, this is the leaders at Ottawa Catholic telling us what they did. They said the sequence here, it can be thought about in a flow of 5 things. We started with saying humans, that is the teachers and students, that's what we want to invest in. We want them to get better. Well, number 2, top left, we'll develop a culture of learning, experimentation, and don't worry if you don't know enough at the first. We're going to help you learn more. We start with pedagogy, not technology. We've always had this in our framework, that pedagogy is the driver, and of this, and technology can help you develop more effectively. But pedagogy is the flow and development, and technology is the means of going deeper. We prioritize ethics and all the issues about learning, cheating, and with AI. What are the different things? And we wanted to feed the overall purpose of the district and of our students in society. So they become. We know now when we measure them. And what they've learned, we know that they've learned the 6 Cs, and they go out in society and they are better actually in society and for society. So there's some teachers commenting on their experience with AI. Again, I won't read these out, but I want you, when you have this material, to stop and discuss and learn and listen to what this is said. These are these are this isn't the people leading the change saying, okay, this is what we want to happen. These are on the receiving end of change, and they're said, this is how we're doing it. You can see in the content of this, there's 4 quotes, these first 2 on the screen. What is it am I learning? And you can see how this learning is very powerful, very much relevant, very much to the individuals that are pulling it in and saying more about it. Here's another 2. As a new teacher, AI is amazing and helps me maintain a work life, etc. So just imagine these 4 quotes I've given you. Imagine all kinds of students and teachers who are able to talk to each other this way, learn from each other, and get a very strong sense of what this technology is. They also are quite aware that let's not make the mistake that we did 20 years ago or 15 years ago when technology was first coming in this form, digital technology. We want to own it as we develop it now. It's a different proposition. The students now are the first group of students who were born with digital. That is, they came into the world when digital was already just getting established, and that's their nature. This is another game of where are we going? These are in the words of the people who lead the district and the schools. Yes, we do numeracy, we do literacy, but we also worry about well-being and the ability to develop in this. So this is the development of these. Remember, go back to the first slides I had about how we're saying we want to turn it on its head. These students and teachers, principals, and administrators from the district. Ottawa is one of about 72 districts in Ontario. So it's a large one, but it's only one of 72. And they are producing students who are then able to be more effective in society. I keep emphasizing that, but it's got the substance and the basis. When it comes to accountability, this is our main message about accountability. Accountability has been misused. This is one of the reasons top-down doesn't work, is they have an impositional notion coming from the top saying, we're going to measure you, and if you're not effective, there's going to be intervention. That's a negative attitude. I've captured the evolution of good accountability in this slide that was developed by Richard in terms of Richard Elmore in terms of the fundamental basis from the research. It's to make sure that the accountability is not impositional. It's not negative. It's got to start internally, and internal accountability means that the students, the teachers, the principals, the administrators, they are interacting with each other on this agenda, and it's their specific interaction that is the best accountability you can have, and this is why they're successful. External accountability can be used as a framework, but what I want to urge, and I'm going to stop in a minute or two, that the biggest message I have for you in 2025, 2026, around the corner, 6 months, the biggest message I have for you is that we have to figure out where students and teachers and others at the local level gain more control over the process of change, interact with the policies, but help to shape them themselves. You can't always do that because up at the top they're sometimes implementing, but the best way of maintaining your control is to get better at the local level. If you get better at the local level, you don't have to be so much a victim of the policies. So I know this sounds complicated, but all I can say is failure has been this history the last 60 years almost, but certainly this century. Failure has been the experience. So now we're trying a new way. We're getting lots of success. students and teachers and principals and local community are finding it relevant. They find they're getting excited because they're developing their own collective ability to lead change, and this is the future. So good luck. I know you will keep in touch with me as you do this. And this is new things. The best news is that it's closer in the hands of people doing the work that are determining the nature of the work. So good luck, and check in with me in the next 6 months or so when you get into this more fully. Thanks very much.